Our next performer, Panggung Resilience 52 from APKI. From APKI, are you ready? From APKI is Pak Budaya? Okay, so please welcome APKI of Panggung Resilience 52. Your time is 30 minutes from now. And beri tepuk tangan yang meriah untuk PR52.
Thank you. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this time I would like to welcome you to the event of the Indonesian Development and Humanitarian Alliance. This is the alliance of 7 major networks in Indonesia, consisting about 800 NGOs and more that working on development and humanitarian field. I would like to invite our speakers. Do I have Mas Anto from MPBI? No? Can I have Mas Hendra from Pujono Center? Pujono Center is an organization that happen to have the same name like my name. Mas Hendra, welcome. Can I have Mbak Citra? No, not here. Can I have Mbak Disha? Disha? My speakers are not here. Mbak Nikma. Mbak Nikma, silakan. Now in the absence of Mbak Citra, I'm looking for Disha. Kaya, where are you going? You know, I will just ask you to come here. Come. Please. Kaya is with the APKI in Bangkok, regional office, but I would like to have her to sit here. I'm put you on the spot, please. No, really, please. Kaya Saha is a dear friend from APKI. We'll have a conversation about humanitarian reform, things that you know, often. Please, have a seat. Don't worry, we'll add your picture later. No. All right, we have Mbak Nikma, we have Hendra. Now, can I have Mbak Ama as well? A repeat performance. This is a highly demanded personality. All right. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, as other speakers are coming, I will invite to get them on board, right? I would like, look, we just talked about humanitarian reform, and at the national level at that, right? Perhaps just putting Kaya really on the hot seat immediately. Disha, Disha, please take a seat on the other end, right? Let's enlighten our friends on humanitarian reform, right? This is a good time to have Kaya to share some thoughts about what is humanitarian reform, right, in very general. And then later I will ask Mbak Ama to tell why humanitarian reform has to be taking place at the national level. And I will ask this colleague to tell in the more specific topics, yeah? All right, Kaya, now I will ask you the first question, right? What is humanitarian reform and why is it important, right? Please, Kaya. And introduce yourself, of course.
Hi everyone, I'm Kaya Saha Chaudhary. I'm the regional representative for ICVA, which is the International Council of Voluntary Agencies. It's an NGO network which has INGOs, national NGOs, and NGO networks as part of it, and it's working towards principled and effective humanitarian action. And so thanks to Puji for putting me very much on the spot as I was...
I wouldn't miss the opportunity, that's what it is.
Yeah,
please,
yes,
please.
Yes. I mean, I think humanitarian reform's important because the humanitarian environment is not, it's not staying in the one situation. It's also evolving. The crisis that we face at GPDRR 20, we've been talking about how we're facing multiple complex crises. Crisis is becoming more protracted. We're seeing more people displaced. We're seeing the impacts of climate change, So the humanitarian system needs to also keep up and be fit for purpose, and also be able to match the changes we're seeing on the ground. So in this panel, as you're talking about how Indonesia has had to adapt and the localization discussion, it's about reflecting what is actually happening and who is responding.
Let me pull back a bit though. Ultimately, what is the goal of the humanitarian? What is it that we're looking at the end of the horizon if it ever gets successful?
If I was to be idealistic, I mean, it's about the communities, right? And that the needs of communities are met. And that requires cooperation and assistance from everybody, from communities, from civil society, from INGOs, from the system. We should all be working towards making sure that the needs of communities are met, and that we're all
pulling together all of these actors and authorities to work together.
Yeah, I don't think it's one person can do anything on their own. This is definitely a collective effort.
Right. So that's generally a global perspective of what humanitarian reform is, in a nutshell, right? and Kaya, I'm sorry, you can hate me later on putting you on the spot. But let's go down to a little bit more specific. From the global level, let's look at the regional level. At the southern part of the hemisphere, the global south. Hibak, welcome. Now, from the global perspective, we would like to descend a bit to the regional level, meaning the global south. I'm not sure if global south is region, but clearly it's not the whole world as it is, right? So Hibak, could you tell us then, from your perspective, and introduce yourself again for the third time in this venue, but what is this from your perspective as a global south?
Yeah, first, apologies for being late. My name is Hibak Kalfan. I'm the executive director of NEAR. NEAR is a global south network of civil society organizations in Latin America, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East and the Pacific. So a little bit bigger than one region, but so I kind of wanted to step back not only from the humanitarian reform perspective, but I think specifically around humanitarian financing. With us at NEAR, we found that the policy conversation sometimes isn't linked fully with the practice. And that there are diverse kind of ways that local actors are financing operations around humanitarian assistance. And so for us, one of our main priorities as NEAR for our members has been, how do we link that policy with practice? And we have two strategies that are very clear that is membership driven actually, which is, the first is called the model driven process, which is about how do we develop localized financing mechanisms alongside our members and local civil society. And then the second is how do we connect different instruments in different countries to learn from each other and hopefully get to a point where they can support each other, where there's a south to south kind of relationship. And then the second is how do we prove that resources can go directly to local actors beyond the conversation of risk, due diligence, all of the system-wide conversations. And so we've developed something called the Change Fund, which gets money to local actors 7 days after a declaration.
7 days?
7 days, inclusive of the declaration of crisis, the, telling our members that we've decided to fund in a certain place, them applying with a simple 2-page application, going back to an oversight body of their peers, and then the cash going out the door. It's all within 7 days. And so for us, it's the proof of concept that local actors can absorb money, they're the first responders, and ultimately that we build this body of evidence to hopefully influence the policy.
Right. So I guess, Masanto, you can sit here. I'm trying to balance the female and male number, so that we are gender-wise equal. So I guess what Hibak has been doing is really reflecting the humanitarian reform in a very real term, which is the resources, and how it should be, and reflecting the power relation as well, right? But the shortening the time of the travel of the money and all, that's just really important. Now, let me further go down from global to global south, and now to the country level, what matters the most. Now I have Mbak Ama. If you could very quickly introduce what is the Indonesia Development Humanitarian Alliance is, and why the humanitarian reform has to matter at the national level.
Okay.
Over to you, Mama.
Thank you. You put me on the spot as well.
I know. That's my job.
So Indonesian Humanitarian and Development Alliance is alliance over network alliance. So the member is actually the network organization. Is first is Humanitarian Forum Indonesia, is the forum of interfaith organization that working with humanitarian, and also the Poros is
A Zakat,
Zakat institution,
Alliance?
the Zakat Alliance. It's the member is around 190 something,
Yeah.
and also Sejajar is also part of the alliance that was set up during the COVID-19. And Poros, Jaja, and MPBI, the Indonesian Society of Disaster Management. So it's very unique alliance because it is alliance above alliance, which we try to communicate because we try to also bringing the gap, the nexus between development and humanitarian, because during the response, most of the organization that dealing with the response is development organization.
Right.
So it's very important, especially for risk reduction, to highlighting the work of the development organization to reduce the risk and the community, and also linked it to the humanitarian response. So we see that this two cannot be separated. So that's why we named the alliance as Indonesian Development and Humanitarian Alliance.
And clearly the pandemic shows more clearly that artificial division doesn't really work, because at the end we have to work together, right?
Yeah, especially during the pandemic, because there is no actually the defined cycle of from mitigation to respond. We do respond, and the same time we do mitigation and risk reduction, and the same time we also doing recovery as well. So it's really important to look at the wide spectrum.
Let me put you the second question. Why humanitarian reform has to take place at the national level? Why don't we just leave it at Geneva, in New York, and
Because the policy at the national level and the implementer is the local level. So the national level could bridge the international to the local. So national is very important, facilitating what the international discussion, what the international movement, and also national trend, international trend toward the local one. So it's very important. If the local jump to the international is not easy, so the national will facilitate for communication, information, access to the finance, what you talk, because at the local level, it's not used to manage a big amount of money. So the national level of any actor will help to translate that.
And clearly having 800 NGOs through their networks in one place have the potential to set the agenda, right? So that it's not the global is telling you what to do, but we got to say, this is what we have, this is what we need to do. Now, let me go further from the national to reality, right? Budaya Center, organization with the same name like mine, right, seems to have conducting variety of studies, and one of that pertains to humanitarian reform. So, Hendra, could you share with us what the findings of the and what the research is all about?
Yeah, I would like to reflect back on our research. It started in 2018, Babuji, the Blueprint Project. It falls under the research stream of Humanitarian Horizon.
So it's a 3 years research.
3 years, 2018.
So Budaya Center quietly doing research for 3 years.
Yeah.
And what's going on?
Yeah, well, we have the phase 0. We have like, okay, I'm looking at my notes. We have different phases. The first phase is the scoping phase, where we try to identify countries with momentum for change, and Indonesia is among one of them. And the next phase, we have the laying the foundations phase. We managed to apply system thinking methodologies to map the different priorities in Indonesia.
This is interesting. Looking at humanitarian reform and using the approach of system thinking, right? And try to see what is connected to what. to come with a reality what really matters. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then as it happens in 2020, there is a COVID pandemic, and we have to pivot the blueprint research, and that's when we initiated with Oxfam and MDMC and the 20 other national networks. We change the direction of the research, and then we facilitate the Sejajar movement, which is just a network of organizations that managed to respond to the pandemic. And that brings us to the end, not at the very end of the pandemic. It's a second phase when we try to do, we shift the system, and we try to conduct targeted researches into prioritized areas and build evidence to facilitate the change.
Well, I'm sorry, this seems like an oversimplifying, but the key so the key finding is there's so much things that needs to be done to account for the role of non-humanitarian actors in disaster response in Indonesia.
First, so much is to be done. You can say that without researching, but go ahead.
And we managed to narrow it down into 4 different priorities.
Joke aside, Indonesia as a country has progressed with humanitarian reform, and yet there are still things to be done. Among others, the 4 things. Go ahead.
So the first one in terms of accountability, and the second one is coordination, the third one is capacity, and the fourth one is funding. So you may heard these 4 issues, said everywhere, no places, in different time zones.
So essentially, the funding actually confirmed the global conversation about accountability, capacity, coordination, and
funding.
And what are the highlights of these 4 things? Just very, very quickly.
For the accountability, we found that the non-humanitarian actors have relationships with communities to make them accountable. However, they have been left behind in the conversation about accountability to affected people. That's about accountability. But coordination, conventional humanitarian coordination structures are too top-down, as we expected. And then the capacity, the finding is conventional humanitarian capacity strengthening initiatives. They do not recognize the importance of non-humanitarian actors in preparedness and response. And in terms of funding, there is lack of recognized contribution to humanitarian response reflected in lack of funding available to non-humanitarian actors.
So 4 things, if I recall very quickly, in terms of accountability, the conventional accountability to the donors alone doesn't seem to be sufficient. There needs to be accountability to people we seek to serve. In terms of coordination, the formal coordination does not accommodate the conversation among civil society and humanitarian. In terms of funding, the conventional funding failed to recognize the emergence of new forces, and it overlooked the potential of a non-humanitarian funding. That will show you the divide between the two, which should not be the case. And last one as well.
Capacity.
In terms of capacity, again, the conventional top-down capacity building overlooked the wisdom that has grown in Indonesia. So I guess that's really a strong background for Indonesia to undertake reform. Now I'm going to walk you through very quickly on other sector and special topic. Mas Anton, which part of the reform that Indonesian Society for Disaster Management is undertaking? Because it's split into several things. Developing the framework, financing and inclusion, among others. Now, Mas Anton is leading the reform on the humanitarian framework for and about Indonesia. Mas Anton, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Puji. Let's start with the situation that we have right now. For instance, in examples in Lumajang response, we have 10,000 IDPs, people affected from the non-tsunami response. But in the same area, there are over 300 organizations with 3,000 volunteers. So
how many displaced people? 10,000 displaced people with 300 organizations.
So one volunteers from every people. So that's not good. So this situation we see is a phenomenon where we have a rapidly growing number of humanitarian organizations or organizations working in humanitarian sectors, which which we don't know whether they are familiar with any standards, principles, values that every humanitarian organization needs to have or need to abide. Which is why we started from the Budaya Alliance, or the APKI, we call it Indonesia, is we want to start conversations about humanitarian framework. Because in Indonesia you can have political parties doing humanitarian response. We can have private sectors doing humanitarian response. We have the driver of online applications fundraising by themselves and then delivering.
You have the military, you have the police.
You have the military, the police. So every elements of the community have interest in humanitarian response. So that is why we see that this is very important, where we see where is the neutrality comes in, where is independence comes in, where is impartiality comes in.
Where's the true no harm comes in?
Where's the Indonesian values?
Exactly.
Where we have volunteerism, we have the gotong royong, the tolerancy, and everything like that. Which is why we think that having a humanitarian framework with Indonesian framework, with Indonesian interests, values, integrated into it, we think it will be a significant value to have a quality response.
Excellent. I think, colleagues, as you heard, throughout the history we have been working with the global humanitarian principle and all that. But now Indonesia is trying to indigenize in a way, recognizing the homegrown principles and ideology and fuse with the global principles. That's all the framework. Let me move now to the most important part of the business, the money. Right? But Citra, now you're working on the financial reform, if you like, and the emergence of Islamic financing. So why don't you walk us through very quickly what you do?
Well, this is a very interesting question, I guess.
I know, I was
Well,
go ahead.
I came from Forum Zakat, and we are organizing around 200 organizations, Islamic organization in Indonesia.
Just for benefit of colleagues who are not Islam, what is zakat anyway?
Yes, zakat is a kind of mandatory action to give share from your own treasure, from your own income, property which is growth.
Okay.
Not something that is not productive. Yeah, the productive aspect of our income, and then you give around 2.5% from your income.
2.5% of your income times 200 million people. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
And then what do you do with that money?
And that's the potential. That is potential, because if you are poor, then you are not mandatory to give. Yeah, it's only for the rich people, I guess. And we are conducting this collection. We move into many instruments, not only zakat organization. We have Sharia banks that is governed with a Sharia aspect, and we have also another Islamic institution which is playing in a small and micro and medium funding enterprises. So we put this fund into risk reduction of our country.
As part of that goes to humanitarian aspect?
Yes, from the mitigation such as we giving an education, and not only education from people in high risk area, such as children and women, and also we give like the forestarian. We plant many seeds. We plant.
I guess our interest here is really just to put the imagination.
Okay.
Of 200 million people, 16% are poor, so about 190 million people are paying money, and some of this money available for humanitarian funding, right?
Yeah.
And you have what, 200 organizations in the network?
Around 200 organizations, and last time we do collaboration for COVID, for handling COVID impact. We can move around half
sorry, all these numbers are mind-boggling. Everything in Indonesia. I heard that in 1 month, in Ramadan alone, the Zakat organization collected 1.7 trillion rupiah. 1.7 trillion.
Because this is our peak season.
Exactly, so that's peak season and your faith and you prepare. 1.7 trillion, that's a lot of money. But my question to you, what do you do with the member network?
First thing first, we have to increase the literacy. We have to increase the education. So
You build the capacity,
yeah, improve the capacity building.
Okay.
Because we want to decrease the disbursement only without empowering. Many people in our practices collecting funds only to give money as it is.
Let's put it this way. Conventionally, the zakat money only to be given, dole out, hand out. But what they're doing is try to empower them to become instrument of empowerment.
Yeah, instrument of
response
empowerment.
and others.
Yes.
What other thing?
Such as if we have to buy infrastructure or build infrastructure, it has to be something that can be useful and sustainable.
Excellent. Okay,
Not something.
It's not just wasting money, but for some purpose. Now, on the last minutes, I would like to go to Banima now. One part of the reform is the inclusion, gender, disability, and whatnot. Banima, could you just highlight for us what the national level reform in terms of inclusion and gender?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Puji. So I'm glad for being here, and I'm here represent Sejajar, which is international platform that we are using this platform for sharing our experience and also our practices on how we are dealing with the COVID situation. But in this opportunity, I would like to put our attention on the women leadership in humanitarian. So this is
I'm looking at my retirement time and women all lead and then I'm like.
Yeah, this is very important because we had a workshop with the women leaders from very remote area that they are very strong and very inspired for us on how they are very contribute to build the resilience. So in the last 2 days, we were with the women share our experience that we contribute a lot to build the resilience in their communities.
And in the past, this was not recognized necessarily.
That's the problem. That's why this is our reflection. Why this is conversation is still important. Though we know that many inspired women everywhere, even here, all of us are very inspired women. But why this conversation still need to be done in everywhere? Because we know that in reality we are facing on the unbalanced power relationship. We know even though we are talking about the local humanitarian leadership, still women are facing more barriers and problems because they have to fight for their interests and for their interests. And also we know that in our norms and social deaths, women are still facing many difficulties to be leader. So this is the fact that we are having now. That's why the conversation still need to be done. Everyone
still have to continue.
Yeah. And what we wanted from today's workshop, the first is recognition that we mentioned before. That recognition that we contribute is very important. And the recognition means it's not only about you recognizing us, but also on how we share our power. There is sharing power, and there is space, and also remind us that nothing about us without us. So instead of listening women's voices and ensuring that we are part of the decision-making process is important. So this is one thing that we wanted from the workshop. Another one is there is a connection or nexus between women's rights organization or women organization with the humanitarian actors. So the connection is not only about we are working together, we are in collaboration together, but also there is sharing resources, there is sharing on the financing, and also there is sharing of power. So this is what we wanted and that we would like to share from our today's workshop.
Excellent. Colleagues, within 30 minutes, I have walked you through a journey of humanitarian reform, looking towards a more effective humanitarian assistance in the world, descending to the regional level in terms of financing. I bring you down to the national level on the evidence base of the needed humanitarian reform, and I walk you through some segment of the humanitarian reform, from building the framework that is indigenous to Indonesia, to the emergence of Islamic financing as an alternative to the conventional humanitarian financing, and the emergence of gender issue and women leadership. Speakers, thank you very much. Colleagues, thank you, and have a good day.